You know what's funny? Every single one of us has heard those words at some point, you can't do it. Maybe it came from a teacher, a boss, a family member, or even a so-called friend. And when you heard it, it stung. It cut deep. Because no matter how strong you are, being doubted hits something inside you. But here's the truth. Doubt is normal. It's part of the human experience, but it is not permanent. The people who told you that you can't are not holding the pen to your story. They don't get to write the ending. That's yours. Doubt is just a moment, a spark of negativity that tests whether you're going to step up and push through or step back and let someone else's opinion become your reality. Think about this. Every single person you admire was doubted. Every innovator, every athlete, every entrepreneur, every world changer. Steve Jobs was told he was crazy. Oprah was told she wasn't cut out for television. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. If they had accepted that doubt as fact, we wouldn't even know their names. And here's where you come in. When someone doubts you, it's not evidence of your inability, it's evidence of their limitation. They are showing you the boundary of their own vision, not yours. The question is, will you let their vision define your future? I need you to really hear this. Just because someone doubts you doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means you're about to do something they can't imagine for themselves. Doubt is a reflection of their fear, not your potential. So stop giving their voices more weight than they deserve. Because here's the magic. Doubt, when you recognize it for what it is, becomes fuel. Every time someone says you can't, you have a choice. You can shrink, or you can say to yourself, watch me. That moment of doubt can either be your ceiling or your launch pad. But let's get practical. When people underestimate you, it's easy to waste your time trying to argue, defend yourself, or prove your worth with words. Don't. Words won't change their minds. Results will. You don't prove people wrong by debating them. You prove them wrong by showing up, by doing the work, by being consistent when they expect you to quit. Doubt is an invitation to action. Every early morning you get up when you want to hit snooze. Every time you study a little longer, push a little harder, stay a little more focused, you're building evidence that their doubt was misplaced, evidence that you are stronger than even you thought. And listen, I know sometimes the loudest doubt doesn't come from others. It comes from inside your own head. That little voice that says, what if they're right? What if I fail? Let me tell you, your brain is wired to protect you, and part of that is imagining worst-case scenarios. But worst-case scenarios aren't facts, they're fears. And fears are not destiny. You don't need to eliminate doubt, you need to move with it. Courage is not the absence of doubt, it's action in spite of it. Here's the real shift I want you to make. Stop seeing doubt as a stop sign. Start seeing it as a challenge. Every time you hear you can't, let it trigger something inside you that says, then I must. Imagine if you turned every no into fuel for a bigger yes. Imagine if you stopped waiting for permission, started giving yourself permission to go all in. That's how you prove them wrong. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with undeniable progress. One day, you're going to look back at the people who doubted you, and you're not going to feel bitterness. You're going to feel gratitude, because their doubt forced you to rise higher, to dig deeper, to grow stronger than you ever would have without it. Doubt was the very thing that sharpened you. And when that day comes, you'll realize the most powerful victory wasn't over them. It was over the old version of you who might have quit. So the next time someone tells you that you can't, smile, take a breath, and quietly think, thank you for the fuel. Because doubt isn't permanent. It doesn't define you. What defines you are the choices you make in the face of it. And I'll tell you this, you are capable of far more than you or anyone else can see right now. Prove them wrong. More importantly, prove yourself right. When people criticize you, it's easy to take it personally. It's easy to let those words crawl into your head, replay over and over, and slowly chip away at your confidence. But here's the shift I want you to make. Criticism is not a death sentence. It's fuel. You can let it burn you down, or you can let it power you forward. And that choice, what you do with criticism, can change your entire life. Every person who has achieved something remarkable has faced critics. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's actually a sign that you're trying. Think about it. People don't criticize those who sit on the sidelines doing nothing. Critics only appear when you're on the field, when you're moving, when you're daring to do something different. The fact that someone has an opinion about you means you are visible, and visibility means you're in the game. So instead of letting it stop you, take it as proof that you're doing something worth noticing. Now, here's the important part. Not all criticism is created equal. There's destructive criticism, which is meant to tear you down, and there's constructive criticism, which, if you're brave enough to listen, can actually make you better. The challenge is to separate the two. Destructive criticism sounds like, "You're not good enough. You'll never make it. Who do you think you are?" That's not about you. It's about the insecurities of the person saying it. But constructive criticism, even if it stings, might carry insight you can use. It might sound like you can improve your delivery here, or you missed a detail there. And if you have the courage to filter it, to pull out the lesson without letting it damage your confidence, you become unstoppable. Here's how you flip criticism into fuel. Step 1, pause. Don't react emotionally. Don't defend yourself immediately. Just breathe. Step 2, evaluate. Ask yourself, is there truth here that I can use to grow? If the answer is yes, take the lesson and leave the negativity. If the answer is no, then let it go. It doesn't deserve your energy. Step 3, channel it. Channel that sting, that frustration into action. Use it to fuel an extra rep at the gym, another hour of practice, one more call, one more attempt. Every time someone underestimates you, you've been given an opportunity to turn their words into your power source. Look at history. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because they said he lacked imagination. Imagine if he had believed that. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for TV. Thomas Edison was told he was too stupid to learn anything. If they had crumbled under criticism, the world would be missing some of its greatest contributions. What made them different wasn't that they avoided criticism, it's that they transformed it. They decided to use it as proof they were on the right path. But here's the deeper truth. When you turn criticism into fuel, it's not really about proving other people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about showing yourself that you can handle the sting and keep moving. Because life will always hand you critics. There will always be someone who doesn't believe in you, who thinks you're dreaming too big, who says you'll fail. That will never stop. So the skill you need isn't learning how to avoid criticism. It's learning how to metabolize it, to take it in, extract what's useful, and use the rest as energy to keep climbing. And let me tell you, nothing feels more powerful than turning someone's doubt into the very fire that fuels your success. Every achievement becomes sweeter, not because you silenced them, but because you grew stronger. The criticism that once hurt you becomes the thing that built your resilience. And resilience is far more valuable than approval. So the next time someone criticizes you, don't ask, "Why me?" Instead, ask, "How can I use this?" Don't waste your time trying to change their minds. Focus on changing your actions. Let their words remind you that you're still in the fight. Let it light a fire in you. Keep going, to keep pushing, to keep proving, not for them, but for yourself. Criticism is inevitable, but what you do with it is optional. You can let it weigh you down, or you can let it fuel you. Choose fuel, always fuel. There comes a point when you realize that trying to prove people wrong can only take you so far. In the beginning, it's powerful. It gives you fire, it gives you urgency, it makes you want to rise every time someone doubts you. But if you stay in that mindset forever, you're still living for them, not for yourself. And here's the truth. The real transformation happens when you shift from proving to improving. When you stop chasing validation and start chasing growth, that's when you become unstoppable. Think about it. If your only goal is to prove someone wrong, what happens after you do it? What happens when you finally hit the milestone, get the promotion, launch the business, or achieve the thing they said you couldn't? If you were only doing it to silence their doubts, suddenly you'll feel empty, because their opinion was never supposed to be your compass. Their doubt was fuel, yes, but fuel is just the start of the journey. If you want to keep climbing, if you want to build a life that feels fulfilling and meaningful, your motivation has to come from within. You've got to stop measuring yourself against other people's disbelief and start measuring yourself against your own potential. Improving means you're no longer driven by revenge or recognition. You're driven by progress. Progress is the most sustainable motivation you'll ever have. It's not about, did I prove them wrong today? It's about, am I better today than I was yesterday? Because when you shift your mindset to improvement, the finish line disappears. There's no end point. You are always growing, always learning, always evolving. And that is what makes you resilient. Here's where it gets powerful. Improvement is personal. Proving people wrong is external. It's about what they see, what they think, what they say. Improvement is internal. It's about who you are when nobody's watching, It's the late nights you choose to put in when you could have coasted. It's the discipline to keep showing up even after you've already achieved what others thought was impossible. It's the humility to say, yes, I'm proud of myself, but I can still do better. That's where greatness lives. Let me give you an example. Imagine an athlete who gets told she's not good enough to compete. She trains harder, makes the team, and wins the game. That's proving them wrong. But the athletes who rise to legendary status, they don't stop there. They don't quit once the critics are silent. They keep improving even when no one is doubting them anymore. Because they're not chasing applause, they're chasing mastery. That's the difference. Proving people wrong might get you started, but improving yourself is what keeps you going long after the crowd has moved on. The trap of proving is that it keeps you chained to other people's opinions. You're constantly looking outward. Do they see me now? Do they respect me now? Have I shut them up yet? But here's the hard truth. You will never silence all the doubters. Even if you climb one mountain, someone will say you can't climb the next. If you build one business, someone will say it's just luck. If you hit one goal, someone will say you'll never do it again. If your energy is always tied to proving them wrong, you'll spend your whole life chasing ghosts. Improvement, on the other hand, is infinite. It never runs out. You will always have the next level of yourself to pursue. And here's the secret. When you focus on improving, you end up proving people wrong anyway. Not because you tried to, but because growth speaks for itself. Your results become undeniable. Your transformation is so visible that it silences critics without you even having to lift a finger. The irony is that when you stop caring about proving, you actually prove more powerfully than ever before. So I want you to make that shift. Start asking yourself different questions. Not how do I prove them wrong, but how do I become better today than I was yesterday? Not how do I show them I can, but how do I show myself what I'm truly capable of? That's where lasting confidence comes from. That's where true success lives. At the end of the day, the people you're trying to prove wrong will fade. Their opinions won't matter 5 years from now. The skills you've built, the habits you've developed, the character you've strengthened, that will stay with you forever. Improvement is the gift you give yourself. It's the quiet, consistent, powerful work of becoming the best version of you. So stop playing small games with your life. Stop chasing validation that was never yours to begin with. Shift from proving to improving. Because proving them wrong might change what they think of you, but improving will change what you think of yourself. And that's the victory that really matters. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has something to say about what you should or shouldn't do, about whether you're capable or not, about whether your dream is realistic. And if you let yourself get caught up in opinions, you'll spend your entire life waiting for approval that will never come. Opinions are cheap. Anyone can have one. They require no effort, no sacrifice, no courage, but action. Action creates evidence. Action silences the noise. Action turns doubt into proof. At the end of the day, what people say doesn't matter nearly as much as what you do. Think about how easy it is for someone to sit on the sidelines and criticize. They don't risk anything by doubting you. They don't lose sleep over whether you succeed. They just talk. But while they're busy talking, you have the opportunity to be busy doing. And doing always wins. You can argue with them. You can try to defend yourself. You can even waste your time explaining why you're capable. But the truth is, nothing you say will ever be as powerful as the results you show through consistent action. Let me put it this way. Opinions are predictions, but actions are reality. Someone might predict that you won't make it. But when you take action, when you show up day after day, you create a new reality that overrides their prediction. That's why action beats opinion every single time. You don't need to convince people with words. You need to convince yourself with proof. Every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you're building evidence that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are moving towards something greater. The mistake so many people make is they stop when they hear too many opinions. They think, if so many people believe I can't, maybe they're right. But ask yourself, whose opinion should matter more? Theirs or yours? Who's actually living your life? You or them? Who has to carry the weight of regret if you don't try? You or them? The answer is obvious. So, why would you ever give more power to the opinions of people who aren't even walking in your shoes? Here's the truth. Action builds confidence. Action builds clarity. And action builds momentum. You don't figure everything out by sitting around thinking about it or by listening to what others think. You figure it out by doing. You learn what works by trying. You learn who you are by stepping into the arena, not by sitting in the stands. And the more you act, the less those opinions matter, because you're too busy building your own reality to care about someone else's predictions. Look at anyone who has achieved something extraordinary. They weren't the ones who listened to opinions. They were the ones who acted in spite of them. J.K. Rowling was told her manuscript wasn't worth publishing. She kept writing. Elon Musk was told electric cars would fail. He kept building. Serena Williams was told she wouldn't dominate tennis. She kept training. In every case, action made the difference. They didn't change minds with arguments. They changed minds with results. But here's what's really important. Action doesn't have to be massive to matter. It just has to be consistent. You don't silence opinions with one big leap. You silence them with steady, undeniable progress. Every small step is a piece of evidence that stacks up over time until it's impossible to ignore. The critics who once doubted you eventually have nothing left to say, not because you argued them into silence, but because your actions spoke louder than any words ever could. So the next time someone tells you that you can't, don't waste your breath arguing. Just act. The next time you doubt yourself, don't sit in your head spinning in circles. Just act, because action is the cure for doubt, and action is the answer to criticism. If you want to build confidence, if you want to prove your worth, if you want to create a life that feels true to you, it won't come from pleasing everyone else. It will come from taking relentless, focused action toward your goals. At the end of your life, no one's opinion will matter. What will matter is what you did with the time you were given. Did you take action, or did you let fear of criticism hold you back? That's the question you have to answer right now, in the choices you make every single day. So remember this, opinions are noise. Action is proof. Stop explaining, stop defending, stop waiting for permission, start moving. Because when you take action, you don't just beat their opinions, you build a life so strong, so undeniable, that no opinion could ever touch it. The hardest lesson most people learn is that the real competition has never been the doubters, the critics, or even the people who seem to be ahead of you. The real competition is you. It's the old version of you who gave up too early, who let fear make decisions, who cared too much about what other people thought. Every day you wake up, you're not battling them, you're battling yourself. And if you can win that fight, nothing outside of you can stop you. Think about how much time and energy people waste comparing themselves to others. They scroll through social media, looking at what someone else has achieved, and suddenly they feel behind. Or they hear about a peer getting promoted and instantly feel less worthy. But here's the truth. You're not running their race. You're running yours. The only fair comparison you can make is with the person you were yesterday. Did you grow? Did you learn? Did you move one step closer to the life you want? That's the scoreboard that actually matters. When you make other people your competition, you give away your power because you can't control them. You can't control how fast they move, what opportunities they get, or how their path unfolds. But you can control you. You can control your effort, your discipline, your mindset, your choices. That's why the most successful people you admire aren't obsessed with beating others. They're obsessed with outgrowing themselves. They're focused on becoming stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more resilient than they were yesterday. And let's be honest, most of the time, the voice in your head is harsher than any critic outside of you. It's the voice that says, "Why bother? You're not good enough. You'll never get there." That voice is the real opponent. It's not the competitor across the field. It's not the colleague at work. It's that old version of you that doubts, hesitates, and quits. Winning against that version of yourself is the most important victory you'll ever have. Here's the thing. Growth is not always glamorous. Improving yourself doesn't always get applause. No one cheers when you wake up early to work on your dream. No one celebrates when you stay disciplined while others slack off. But those are the moments that matter most because they're proof that you're beating yesterday's version of you. And over time, those small wins compound into transformation. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've been someone who procrastinates a lot. The old you would spend hours avoiding the work, doubting yourself, and making excuses. But today, instead of procrastinating, you just sit down and get it done. Even if it's not perfect, that's a win. That's you beating the old version of yourself. Or maybe you used to let fear stop you from speaking up in meetings, but today you raised your hand. You shared your idea. You spoke your truth. That's a win. That's you proving that the only competition that matters is the one in the mirror. And when you commit to competing with yourself, something amazing happens. You stop caring so much about what other people think. You stop living for their approval because you realize they're not running your race. Your standard becomes your own growth. Your progress becomes your own validation. And that is real freedom. Now, does this mean you'll never face setbacks? Of course not. You will fail. You will stumble. You will have days where the old version of you shows up stronger than ever. Here's the difference. If you're competing with yourself, failure isn't final. It's feedback. It's a lesson that helps you come back stronger tomorrow. When you make yourself the competition, there is no end of the road. There's just continuous improvement. So ask yourself right now, who was I yesterday? Who do I want to be tomorrow? And what can I do today to close that gap? That's the question that will move you forward. That's the mindset that will build resilience, confidence, and momentum. At the end of the day, you don't need to be better than anyone else. You just need to be better than the person you were before. If you keep winning that battle day after day, you'll look back one day and realize you didn't just prove others wrong. You became the strongest version of yourself. And that's the only victory that truly lasts.